Hey, what's up? It's Jim, and today I'm going to talk about the film Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. The thing about Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles is that when it came on the scene, when it became a cartoon show and it was a 1990 movie, and even when it was a comic book, it was something that was different. It was made really as a lark to make fun of comic books, but it was different. It's not really like other comic books, and the original 1990 film wasn't like other comic book movies at the time, and really there haven't been other comic book movies since made like the original 1990 Ninja Turtles. It was a different kind of movie. That was kind of part of the appeal, is seeing these incredibly well-made puppets made by Jim Henson work and fight. And it wasn't like Tim Burton's Batman. There weren't a lot of comic book movies at the time, and it was really something different. Now you look at this film, and this is such a big studio superhero movie that it's kind of dull. There's nothing about this movie that's really any different from a lot of superhero comic book movies. In fact, it's more of a studio superhero comic book movie than I've seen in a while. It's weird that Guardians of the Galaxy came out last week, because that's really a studio that cares about the characters and their creations and tries to make sure the audience has an attachment to those characters and that you really care about those characters. And that's what made Marvel Studios so unique and so interesting. But then if you look at the comic book movies that were being made before that, a lot of them are there to just give you the thrills, the action, the spectacle, and not give you the character at all. And Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles is as much of an example of that as any of those terrible early 2000 superhero movies are. I mean, certainly it's not Fantastic Four, 2005 bad, but it's definitely up there. They don't think about making a film that'll have a connection to an audience, so they'll stick around for all these other movies. They're so confident in it being a franchise, it's almost like they don't really want to prove it to you that you do want to come back. They're just like, well, you'll probably come back, so who gives a shit? And that's the feeling that goes throughout Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. April O'Neil, played by Megan Fox, and she is trying to figure out what's been going on with these Foot Clan robberies until she finds out that they have been stopped by these vigilantes, and then she finds out that it's the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. She goes down to their lair, just like in the 1990 film. Then they're kidnapped by the Shredder because they have this mutagen in them which will cure things at a cellular level, because he's going to poison New York City, but he's going to sell them the cure-all. But then, like, why wouldn't... I don't know. It's really ridiculous. But the point of the plot is the Ninja Turtles have to stop Shredder, and Megan Fox is April O'Neil trying to... In the first half of the movie, she wants to be a serious reporter, but then she finds out this is connected to her father, who is an inventor, who helped kind of create the Turtles, and she was involved, and she named all the Turtles for whatever reason, as well as Splinter. But then there was a fire and she saved all the Turtles and Splinter and threw them in the sewer. That seems pretty horrible now that you think about it, but they became who they are, and they have to now stop the Shredder from releasing this poisonous gas and killing tons of people in the process. This film is very convoluted, and it has the kind of typical Hollywood, too much going on, convoluted script, and it's kind of more of a recent Hollywood comic book movie film adaptation, and I guess I can blame the Amazing Spider-Man for this, is the idea that everything is connected, that all these characters didn't just once bump into each other and this is just an isolated kind of incident, that their whole lives have been built around these relationships and so forth. It's seriously the most boring idea ever. The whole April O'Neil idea that she named them and that they were created in her dad's lab, although originally in the comic she started as a lab assistant, so I don't know if that's a throwback. Instead of really telling a Ninja Turtles movie, they're really just making a typical superhero movie, which makes it odd that they'd even want to make a Ninja Turtles movie. Why not just make a bland superhero movie? Like, why use the Ninja Turtles for this? This doesn't feel like a Ninja Turtle origin story. It doesn't feel like a Ninja Turtle story, and it's probably the least like the comic book, animated series, and previous movies interpretation of the Turtles that I've ever seen before. It's actually definitely my least favorite Turtles movie. My least favorite before was probably Turtles 3. I like the cartoon. I know some people have a soft spot for Secret of the Ooze. They've never been amazing movies, but the first couple, and I think even the animated film, have a certain charm to them, which this just doesn't have. It doesn't get the uniqueness of doing a Ninja Turtles movie. The director Jonathan Liebesman and Michael Bay, who produced it, who a lot of people are blaming, but I don't know how involved he really was, don't really respect the Turtles, and it kind of reminds me of a previous Michael Bay interpretation of a previous 80s cartoon, which was Transformers, which he really didn't respect the continuity of that either. They try to kind of capture the essence of it. They certainly got a lot of backlash online for saying they might not. It feels like they kind of try to acknowledge it, but also try to do the kind of modernized Hollywood big budget superhero comic book movie type of thing that they're expected to and supposed to do as mandated by the studio, but also kind of have to throw in what the Turtles are like. They don't really feel like they're people who love the Ninja Turtles, and in a way it's kind of outdated, this whole idea, these kind of comic book movies. They don't live on as much. Superhero films are in this weird area right now where there's certain studios that have continuity to their superhero universes, and then anyone else who's trying to create them seems to be faltering, because I don't get the impression that this director really cared that much about Ninja Turtles, or if he did, it definitely didn't show on screen. You don't really know the Ninja Turtles that well. You kind of get to know Raphael, but you don't really get to know him that well, except for that he's kind of grumpy. Michelangelo, Donatello, and Leonardo, certainly their different personalities are all on display. It's not really great at showing them. There's no character moments. You get introduced to the Turtles and quickly the Foot Clan come down and attack the sewer, and they have a big fight sequence. The fight choreography is actually worse than the 1990 film because they don't really know how to choreograph a scene at all. The camera's whooshing all around and they can kick 5 guys down at once. In the 1990 film, there's some really actually pretty well done fighting sequences, and it's even crazier because those guys were wearing big suits and fighting the Foot Clan. In this, the director I've read talked about how the raid inspired him and things like that, but he doesn't really seem to understand fight choreography. They completely overdid it to the fact that it just looks like nonsense. There's kind of a thrillingness to a good kung fu martial arts fight sequence that they just don't have in this film. The Ninja Turtles, in a lot of iterations, have never really respected the whole ninja idea, but at least it would have been more interesting and kind of something unique if they had more martial arts fight sequences, but they just don't. And so you get kind of these really bland action sequences that you expect from a big studio summertime blockbuster. The Ninja Turtles, when I watched the 1991 and reviewed it, and I read all these reviews of Siskel and Ebert and Pauline Kael and all the big critics of the time about the original 1990 Ninja Turtles, I never really felt it was as bad as they said it was. When they talked about corporate greed and how this is made to sell toys, I didn't feel that way about the 1990 film, but I do feel that way about this film because there's no personality to it. There's nothing about this director that's any different. He's kind of a bland director. If you look at Jonathan Liebesman, his previous film that I have seen, Battle Los Angeles, it's very much kind of just a genre alien invasion film, and blandly so. And I think when you look at Ninja Turtles, it's a blandly done comic book superhero movie, and that's just really boring at this point. I feel like we've gone so far beyond that. You look at a film like Guardians of the Galaxy, and it's an audience-pleasing, nerd-friendly movie that's just a great movie. You know, a film that I'm going to buy the Blu-ray of, and if I could see again, I would. But Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles is a film that, when it comes on cable, I'll be like, ugh, I saw that. Embarrassing. I know lots of people say they'll see this because of Turtles and they want to take their kids and stuff like that, and corporations know how to have a big opening weekend with things like that. That's basically what they've done, but they're not going to be able to do the thing that Marvel has done so successfully, which is get you to care about a character. In the original comics, they were stopping the Foot because New York City was different. Feels like they didn't adapt to a newer New York City. They had to create this kind of end of the world plot, which was more of the cartoons story than the comic book or the movies, but it still would have been interesting if they had been like, oh, well, this is more based on the cartoon show, and they could have done something with that. But it just feels like too many ideas. It's trying to be gritty and cartoonish and isn't really able to do either because it doesn't really want to be a Ninja Turtles movie. It's pretty much the only Ninja Turtles movie that doesn't want to be a Ninja Turtles movie. It just wants to be a superhero movie. And as a bland, big studio superhero movie, I guess they succeeded in doing its paint by numbers approach. But I think it was probably the least satisfying Ninja Turtles movie I've ever seen. I'm so disappointed that Hollywood's still making stuff like this. You'd think with the success of so many superhero films that respect the original comic books and get the original comic books and characters and get people to want to see other sequels from them. And then you look at the recent Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and you're like, oh, I don't want to see this again at all. In a way, they've done the reverse of what the modern comic book movie does, is it doesn't make me want to fall in love with the character and buy the t-shirt and the Blu-ray and see the sequel and see 4 more sequels. It makes me go, oh, I guess they'll never make another really cool, unique Ninja Turtles movie. They're just gonna make a bland superhero film, and maybe if I have nothing else better to do, I'll see it. Which is about the amount of enthusiasm that everyone who made this film put into it as well. It's kind of like Daredevil. And you know, Ninja Turtles were kind of based on the comic of Daredevil, so it's appropriate. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, this version, will kind of live up to that kind of a comic book movie. The comic book movie you forget about and you see in somebody's garage sale. These are terrible, forgettable films. It's just a bad movie. It's a bland, paint-by-numbers superhero comic book film. And that's the kind of superhero comic book films that we don't need as a movie audience. It's the kind that comic book fans don't need right now. And it's the kind of movie that the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles definitely didn't need. So if you have seen Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and you would like to talk about it, then comment below in the comments and subscribe if you would like to.